The Dharma, incomparably profound and exquisite, is rarely met with even in hundreds of thousands of millions of kalpas. We now can see it, hear it, accept and hold it. May we realize the true mind of the Tathagata. Today is the 5th day of this 7-day sesshin here at Mountain Gate in northern New Mexico. And I'd like to share with you a little bit of the teachings of Chinul, who was a 12th century Korean Son master, and so important in the development of Buddhism in Korea that he is still widely known today. Robert Buswell Jr. is a distinguished professor at UCLA in Southern California. And he's a translator of Chinul. In fact, I think he may be the only translator into English of Chinul's works. He himself was a monk for 5 years in Korea. So he comes from a basis of experience. He's also been very helpful at different times as a source of information. He is one of the 2 authors of the Princeton Dictionary of Buddhism, which is available both as is it a Kindle edition? At any rate, as an ebook and as a very thick, rather expensive, very comprehensive book. And it's an excellent book. It was many years in the production. Chinul, like so many of the important Buddhist masters of Asia, lived during a period of great strife. He was born in, I think it was, let's see, in the 1100s anyway. And he was a very sickly child. So sickly that his father, in desperation, pleaded with Buddha, sought the help of the Buddhas, I should say, in helping this child heal, and promised that if he did, he would have him become a monk, a Buddhist monk. And when Chinul was 7 years old, apparently he got better from all these sicknesses that he'd been afflicted with. And so his father had his head shaved and sent him to a monastery. One would wonder perhaps how effective this would be in terms of whether a child would really connect with the deep practice. In his case, of course, he did. There are cases where they didn't. I think I remember reading quite some time ago about one of the Western children that was determined to be a reincarnation of a famous Tibetan teacher, and so was sent to live in a monastery at a very young age. And eventually, I think when he was 16, he left. So not every child who is ordained at an early age maintains that ordination, maintains that draw to monastic life. Chinul died, I think it was in 1210, and that was when Dogen in Japan was 10 years old. So they overlapped some, although certainly they didn't know each other. Chinul did rise and become such a significant influence on Korean Son Buddhism, because that's how it's pronounced in Korea. And we have Zen in Japan, Chan in China, and Son in Korea, all coming out of the term jhana, which was Sanskrit, I believe, which had its origin, of course, in India with the Buddha. Chinul is very famous for a couple of things. One is that in his era in Korea, Buddhism was splitting into two camps. Those who were most interested in pursuing sutras as Buddhist study, Buddhist training, and those who were inclined towards meditation. And he managed to amalgamate the two. And that is certainly makes sense, because the sutras can inspire us in our practice. That's one reason why we chant them every morning, both the sutras and the teachings. He's also famous for an expression, tracing down the radiance to its source. Is in terms of Zen practice or Son practice or Chan practice. And let me read something of a translation, a book that Robert Buswell produced, simply called Chinul Selected Works. And it's from the Collected Works of Korean Buddhism, Volume 2. And in it, there's a section on tracing back the radiance, which he identifies as the process fundamental to all meditation practice. What does tracing back the radiance mean? In the Tibetan Buddhist circles, the nature of mind is considered to be luminous awareness or luminous transparency. The radiance, tracing down the radiance to its source. It's not about thinking. It's not about trying to come up with some image of who we really are, because it's impossible. There is no possible image, because it's beyond all images. Let me quote a Dogen master in this book, Introduction to the Nature of Mind by Dzogchen Pema Khalsang Rinpoche. It's easy to, in our attempts to go beyond thought, go beyond words, to get into kind of a fuzzy, vague mind state. I did this myself in my early years of Zen practice. I would try to reach a place beyond words, but it was an invented place in my own mind. And of course, eventually things settled down with succeeding practice. But let me share with you, this is an instruction to point out the nature of mind in the tradition of the senior realized ones, entitled A Lamp to Dispel Darkness. Vagueness without thinking anything is itself ignorance, the cause of delusion. So we can't try to stop our thoughts with some idea that if we stop our thoughts and produce some alternative, that alternative is going to lead us to awakening. That alternative is just as much of a hindrance as a thought could be. Continues. Therefore, without thought or stirring, mind experiences this kind of vague awareness. So by looking naturally at the one who is aware of this, the one who is not thinking, Rigpa, which is a sense of our original nature, quality of original nature, free of stirring thoughts, arises unobstructed transparency without outer or inner light, clear sky. When it comes to settling naturally in a state of mind essence, some people maintain mere clarity, mere awareness, entering into a state whereby conceptual mind thinks, this is clarity. Others hold their mind serenely empty, as if their awareness had gone blank. However, both of these are mere fixation on aspects of mental consciousness, a dualistic experience. Tracing down the radiance, or tracing back the radiance to its source, is not an easy task. We are entangled in all kinds of clouds of assumptions about what that means, as well as habit patterns of using our mind in different ways, thinking, mulling things over, and various other things. Chinul spoke a little bit about tracing back the radiance. To trace back the radiance means to trace the radiance back to the numinous awareness of one's mind. And numinous awareness, there's nobody being aware, but there is numinous awareness, our natural state. For this reason, it is called trace back the radiance. It is like seeing the radiance of the sun's rays, following it back until you see the orb of the sun itself. Only the source of this radiance is luminous transparency. So there's no thing that you're going to find like the orb of the sun. What is this radiance? He continues on. This property of awareness is itself formless and free of thoughts, and consequently is able to adapt without limitation to the full range of human inclinations, and so on and so forth. Rinzai famously said, "There's a true person of no rank going in and out of the doors of your senses. If you haven't seen it yet, see it now. See it now." That can give you a clue about tracing down the radiance. There's a true person of no rank. We could call that true person of no rank luminous awareness. Coming in and out of the doors of the senses. In the eyes, it is called seeing. In the ears, it is called hearing. In the tongue, it is called tasting. In the hands, it is called holding. And in the feet, it's called carrying things. There's a true person of no rank coming in and out of the doors of the senses. We can trace down the radiance through our ears, tuning in with deep focus on the most subtle sounds, becoming aware when you are creating subtle sounds in your own mind to, quote, find, close quote, subtle sounds. Perhaps hearing is a more effective way to do this than seeing, but you could do it also through seeing. And there have been Zen masters who, through seeing, have come to awakening. Rayun is the temple, but Rayun, the monk that the temple is named after, the master of the temple is named after, had awakening on glimpsing peach blossoms. Anything can trigger that sudden trace down to the luminous awareness, tracing down the radiance. There's a little bit more in this book on Tibetan practice. Merely recognizing the nature of Rigpa, or that luminous awareness or awakening, is not enough. One needs to stabilize steady familiarity with that state. We can all have a sudden flash of such deep presence that there simply seems to be awareness and spaciousness. And that's a start. We need to expand it. We need to deepen it. We need to ground it so that it's the beginning of going even deeper yet. A little more about luminous awareness and tracing down the radiance. This one word, awareness, is the source or gateway of all wonders. As the foundation of sentience, this awareness is fundamentally non-dual, but remains dynamic enough to manifest its wonders, quote unquote, in any undifferentiated form. In looking back on the radiance of the mind, one starts at the level of these wonders, the phenomenal manifestations of the non-dual mind essence, and then trace back those manifestations to their perceptual source, sentience itself or bare awareness. For Chinul, regardless of the specific meditation technique being developed, tracing the radiance back to the mind's source is the function that enables the discriminative mind to rediscover its original non-dual source, which is free of thought. And that is the same as Rinzai's true person of no rank. And again, one of those gateways is hearing. We can use any sense, tuning in so completely to the sense of the quality of air on our hands or our face, or focusing on sound. To the exclusion, the natural exclusion, because of the deep focus, not through the prevention of anything coming up. But if we focus deeply enough, we go beyond thought. And it is beyond thought that we trace the radiance down to its source. Total presence with a sense of openness to possibility. That's how you do it. There's not much more to say about this. The important thing is that we really dive into our practice, particularly this late in sesshin. Hopefully we've been diving into it since the very beginning, because we have this enormous chance to truly deepen, truly awaken. Let's take advantage of it. Who are we? What is this radiance? What is this luminous transparency? Experience it for yourself. Experience it for yourself. And your life will be forever changed. So I thank you for listening. It's a pretty short teisho, but the most important thing is to reach within, explore, and let go of external attachments naturally, not by pushing them away, but by being so focused on the search that other things drop away because they're much less important. So we'll stop now and recite the 4 vows.